welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. Your best good boy, John Boy, Bunn, Johnny Boy, Jay Beezy, Jay Bizzle in the house with my dude, Mr. Nick Miller. We're trying out some new things instead of best good buddy. I don't know if they're going to stick, but oh well.
It shouldn't stick.
It's a good day. It's a beautiful spring day, hopefully, where you're at. If you're on this side of the, what is it called? The
Northern Hemisphere?
Yes.
Northern Hemisphere?
Yeah. It should be a beautiful spring day, maybe a beautiful fall day if you're in Australia. I think that's how it works. I'm a moron. Okay, let's move forward. It is the How to Film Weddings podcast. I am joined by Mr. Nick Miller. Nick, how are you, my friend?
Dude, I'm doing really, really good. Life is just
great.
Good. Things are going well. Yes, it is. We are officially in spring as of last week. When we're recording this, it is officially spring. So that's good. Looking forward to it. We have some fun things that John and I get to go do in the next couple months that we're excited about. I don't know if we can share some of that stuff yet or not.
No,
not yet. But we have some fun things that they're coming up with that. Yeah, things are going well. Life is back to normal-ish for you. Yeah.
Getting there, back to normal. That's great. Family's good. Life's good. My wife turned 40 in the last week, so that's cool. I'm married to someone in her 40s. So yeah,
I think you made that joke last week too.
Yeah, I'm still processing it. Yeah, I'm still processing it. I'm also processing a couple things. Number one, if you don't remember, we just released our web templates, Nick, which is pretty dope. We teamed up with Austin from The Creative, and we made web templates for wedding filmmakers by wedding filmmakers. So if you're out there, you're listening, you're like, you know what? My website sucks, or I don't have a website, or man, I wish I had something maybe for wedding filmmakers. You might want to head over to howtofilmweddings.com, check out our shop, and check out those killer new web templates. We've got like little one-pagers all the way to like full websites for you to check out. People be loving those. So I just wanted to mention that. And then, Nick, I obviously want to mention Cine Garden, Rob and Adalenne from Memphis, Tennessee. We just interviewed them. We saw a video of theirs a month ago on our live film reviews where they were like in Iceland and their stories were ridiculously
incredible.
Good. And it was just like we immediately gave it like top honors and was like, we got to get them on the podcast. Really cool people. You're going to be hearing a lot more from them. They're coming up in the education space. A lot of stuff going on. Nick, what stood out to you in the conversation?
You know, just the thing that so many people want is to create films that are deeper and films that mean more, not just to them, but also their couples. And it's more than just here's a wedding day highlight, right? This is the thing that happened on the wedding day. They want something more. And so tapping into getting to know your couples better, building that relationship, and also like being vulnerable as yourself as a filmmaker and putting yourself out there a little bit, specifically on social media and on your website and stuff, so that the right people can find you, are all things that have been really, really big for them. And so, John, I'm really excited to get into this episode of the podcast. So let's get in there.
All right. Well, Rob and Adalenne from Cine Garden are on the How to Film Weddings podcast. Welcome. Why don't you guys introduce yourself? Who are you? Where are you from? Why are you here? Tell us all the things.
You start.
I'm Rob.
I'm Adalenne. Obviously, you just said that. We are Cine Garden Film Company. We are based right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. And we've been in business we're coming up on 8 years. And so, yeah, we started in May of 2015.
Still in college.
Yeah. I think I was 19. Yeah.
Yeah.
I filmed my first wedding on my own. Like I second shot a little bit for a wedding videographer around here. And I was like, you know what? I think I could do this. And so I made a really cringe name. Do y'all want to know the name?
Yes, please.
It was called Forever Moments Videography.
Solid.
And I went on Photoshop, made myself a little logo. That was really cringe too. If I could find it. Maybe we can plug it in, but, and I made a Facebook business page and, I was like, yo, I film weddings now. And I texted 2 people that graduated from my high school. And I was like, I knew they were getting married. And I was like, hey, y'all have a wedding videographer yet? And one of them did, but she was like, maybe they'll let you come. And they did. And I don't know if they were happy about it or not, but but I filmed that wedding and I came home, immediately edited it. I stayed up all night editing and I put it out, I think the next day.
What a jerk move to the real videographer. I'm just kidding. Sorry, continue.
I was not in the picture yet.
No,
so
Who the
I
heck
had-
is this company showing up, making videos before me? Man, no.
So I met Rob right before I shot that wedding. And we started dating like a couple months later. And I had booked my second wedding. And I was like, hey, I'm shooting this wedding in November. Would you want to like come shoot it with me?
I think you didn't give me that much of a forewarning of it. It was just like, hey, you're gonna come do this, and you're gonna
come do this.
yeah, and you like made me carry everything, and I was just the pack mule, you know.
Well, it ended up working out. I do remember we forgot our monopods, and we were like, dude, do you remember like starting out always forgetting stuff?
Yes.
Dude, we forgot stuff so many times and it was just like a panic. But anyways, we're on the way to that wedding. We didn't have the monopods. We like stop at a Target and we get these like they're
Pieces of plastic.
They're just a stick. Like that it's there's no like fluid head on it or anything. We got those sticks. We like zoomed up to that wedding and anyways, we ended up we just kept going with it and we kept booking more and we were still in school, just kind of figuring it out, and we had kind of steadily raised our prices and whatever. I feel like we never really looked too far in the future of like, this could be a career.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe I thought, oh, it would be cool, but I didn't really believe that people did it like full time. I was like, that's not a thing.
Yeah, it was a dream of ours, but I don't think we ever thought it'd be a reality.
Yeah, I think until probably like 2018, I feel like it's when we were like, maybe we could do this. And we started talking to just when we'd be shooting weddings, like we'd be talking to the photographer about it. And I feel like more times than not, photographers are like, I feel like they have maybe an easier time going full time. I feel like that's what I have kind of felt like. But they would always be like, yeah, y'all can, we should do 5 weddings a year and whatever. And so we started thinking about it more. We decided to do Cine Garden. That was in 2018, right?
Yeah. I want to go back to that first wedding though. I had 0 camera experience and we were on the way there. She was giving me a crash course. We were in the elevator and she was like, all right, go to this room number.
Yeah, it's like a hotel thing.
I'd never met the couple before. They had just emailed, I guess. And I'm just in the corner of this hotel room while these guys are like hanging out and getting ready. And I'm like, what is happening right now? But
dude, yeah, those first few weddings, like just not knowing how to be a human and literally like you're just like there in the corner. You don't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
And you feel like everyone's like looking at you like, what are you doing here? And I feel like we looked like kids too.
No, we were babies for sure.
The people were probably like, dude, who are these people?
Yeah. I like how you held your camera with you shrugged your shoulders when it's like how everybody starts out. It's like, I'm in the corner, I'm shrugging.
I'm not awkward at all.
Okay, so Forever Moments Videography, I'm going to vote. We go back to that name. It's not
I think
as
it's solid.
Yeah, Cine Garden Film Company. It's cool, but Forever Moments, I mean, that's just timeless. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're talking forever. So,
honestly, we would have less trouble because with our name now, we've heard it all. We've heard Cine Garden, which is kind of weird, you know?
Yeah.
It makes me think of like the Garden of Eden and like sin.
Yeah.
And then
we hear Cine
Garden. Yeah, it's like no one ever knows how to say it. And I'm like, I guess you'd have to think a little bit deeply about like why it's Cine. But
I got it. But again, maybe we'll talk about it. Forever Moments Videography could come back. I like Cine Garden, but no, I'm kidding. Okay, so 2015, you're babies. You're in college. Hey, we're filming weddings. Rob gets asked to go to a wedding, and you're dating. Like you're dating at this point still, right? So your whole like dating relationship, you were running kind of like, what did that look like? How'd that work? When did, like, tell us a little bit about that. Like, what was like, because if for me, the first time I tried to do a bridal show with my wife was like the last time we did anything together with our business. It was like, this isn't going to work with us if I have to be so like sweet every time. I'm like, hey, hang that thing up. Why'd you say it like that? It's like, well, because we're in a hurry. Or anyway, how did that work out? You're dating, because that's interesting.
I feel like it's good that the timing was what it was, because I feel like if I had been further down the road and then we started dating and I brought you into it, I would have been way harsher on you. And like, because I don't feel like I'm type A, but maybe I am on wedding day.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty like I know what I'm doing, and
Careful, Rob. Be careful.
I have my like vision, and so I'm pretty good at like giving orders,
Right.
And so I feel like it's good that we were both kind of figuring it out together. It was new for both of us in a sense. So,
I'm also like a really chill person. I don't let things really get to me. So I think that makes it a lot easier for us, like even in our relationship, but also being in this business together. Like I'm very like, I don't take things personally.
Yeah.
Like super emotional and like an emotional person.
Yeah. I feel like it's a little bit more difficult on the editing side. Like I feel like that stuff can be taken a little bit more personally. And that's something that we've had to like navigate really in the last like 2 years.
Yeah. Adalenne would be like, Rob, this shot is just too overexposed. I can't even use it. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. Like it was just the situation. Okay. But no, like there have been moments where I do take that a little more personally, I guess, like on the back end. But when it's wedding day and it's like high stress, I'm usually pretty calm.
Yeah. It's like, we know we have to do the job. Like we're here to do the job, and it's not personal, it's work. So, but anyway, I think it was really good that we got to build it together, and it's been like a journey that we've gotten to share all the way from the beginning. And so it's been good. I guess like back to the actual story of where we got to where we are now. So like 2018, we rebranded to Cine Garden, and I was working full time at my church as the director of videography. And so I was doing video stuff all day long, every day. And I was so creatively drained from that like trying to put any creativity into our films was like, it was just so hard.
Yeah. And she did all the editing. So she was.
Yeah. You weren't editing yet.
Yeah. I wasn't editing at all. I was a teacher, and I mean, my weeks were slam packed. I was a coach as well. So I coached soccer, and when it was the fall season that would happen. And so my work was like separate from our business. And so she took the load of it when I would second shoot, but I wouldn't have anything to do with editing.
And I just remember that like season of like working full time. And then on the weekends, like we have to work, all day. And then it's like, and then you have your backlog that's just like stacking up. And so that's the point, at that point we were probably doing like 15 weddings a year, which isn't a ton, but it feels like a ton when you're working full time.
Yeah.
And so that's when we really started to think about, okay, like at some point, if we want to keep doing this, there's going to have to be like a transition. We just didn't really know what that looked like. And so I think in 2019, that's when I was like, I really want to try to transition into full time. So I went part-time at the church, and I was working like 2 days a week at the church, and then sometimes on weekends. And then it seemed really like it was happening. Like we're going to get there. I'm going to go full time. I think we were about to hit like 20 weddings in a year. And then COVID happened. And like everyone that we had booked for 2020 like canceled or rescheduled for the next year and all of that. And so I think we only had like 6 weddings in 2020. And financially we were like, okay, we can't do this. And so I went back full time at the church, and it was back to that like, oh, like I'm so drained. How am I supposed to do both? And especially when 2021 hit, it was like, ooh, the first like 6 or 8 months of 2021, I was like about to come unglued. I could not do both anymore because y'all know, I'm sure 2021 was crazy for y'all too, right?
A little bit.
Oh yeah.
So many weddings, more than we'd ever done. And so it was July 2021. I went to our creative director, and I was like, hey, I don't think I can do this anymore. I think I'm going to like actually just 100% like quit. Like I'm not going to go part-time again. And so I quit, went full-time in August 2021. And that was oh my gosh, the most freeing thing in the whole wide world, just to be able to put everything, all of that creative energy that I'd been like using elsewhere into weddings. Because I feel like that whole time we wanted our films to be like so much more creative and so much more intentional and like personal to the couple, but like there was no capacity for us to like put that into it. And so to have that capacity was amazing. And then so I was full-time for about 5 or 6 months before you came on full-time. You tell your side of going full-time.
Okay. Yeah, I was teaching, and it was August of 2021. The day before the first day of school, I got like, the worst case of COVID I could have got. Like it was not fun at all. It was really bad. But I ended up not being able to meet my students that first week because I had to quarantine, and just trying to recover from that as a teacher. Not easy at all. Like not
like,
being able to establish that rapport,
that like initial relationship.
Yeah.
It was like a sub the first week of school.
Yeah, I actually got back to my classroom and it was like a wreck. I had this picture that my grandfather gave me and they had like shattered it, and it was like really bad. So just putting into context how bad that like first couple months was of teaching. And I ended up just putting my 2 weeks in. I found another job with someone in our church.
Like a contracting job?
Yeah. And so I did that contracting for about 6 months. And
not even.
Yeah,
it was just until December. It was September to December. And we were like, that was when we had to figure out insurance, you know, because we had it through the school. And so that was like
a transitional
it was a good transition because you had a little bit of income coming in, and we were like, okay, we got to figure out insurance. We figured out how much that was going to cost, and we were like, maybe we can do it. And then we just went
January 2022 we were like, let's just do this. So I ended up quitting that contracting job and we jumped right in together. I think that was a pretty scary thing to do, you know. I'm sure it is for everybody, but
last year was the most terrifying thing. Like it was the most terrifying, but also the best thing that's ever happened, you know?
Yeah.
And when we made that decision, we were like, we're going to invest whatever we can into this. We're going to pull out all the stops. Like we're going to do everything. And if it doesn't work, then we go back to work.
Yeah.
And we'll just see what happens. So we spent a lot of money last year in order to completely transform our business. Yeah. And that's where, like, I know I mentioned to you guys that I wanted to mention like mentorship and how like that was pivotal for our business, because we had never done any education. And it was in the fall, whenever I went full time, that's when I discovered how to film weddings, because I had never even really like looked at what was out there.
Yeah, as far as education. Yeah, we were on our way to a wedding and we were like, it was like a 3-hour drive. We were like, we need to find like a podcast. And then we found you guys and been listening.
And I was like, oh my gosh, there's this whole like world and like community of other wedding filmmakers, and I just didn't even know that existed. And so that was really huge. And that is when we found, I had known of Stanton or Cody, whatever you want to call him.
That's his actual name now, Canton or Stanton, Cody, or whatever you want to call him. Like that's what everybody says.
Yeah.
So I knew that of him because he was in Memphis for a while.
Yes.
And so I had like seen some of his films, maybe on one of like the local like Memphis Facebook wedding groups. And I remember thinking, dang, this guy's good. Who is he? And then he moved. So I really hadn't like thought about him since I'd seen a couple of his films on those pages. But anyways, that's when I've like rediscovered him. And that's when we discovered Sarah and Boomer, Multiply Media. And we were like, we love them. They inspire us the most. And so we immediately like, we reached out to Sarah and Boomer first, and we booked a mentorship session with them. And then right after that, that's when Stanton put out, he was doing his Patreon like mentorship thing. And it was like an ongoing mentorship. And so we were like, all right, should we drop this money and just go for it?
Yeah.
And so we did. And that literally.
That changed the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Crazy how that works, right?
Yeah. You know, as you're telling the story, there's so many of us in just life, right, where we have this thing that we're really interested in, that we want to do, but then we don't do it because of fear. You know, I'm scared. I'm sure that, you know, when you're like, I'm going to leave my job, like that wasn't a calm, peaceful, you know, situation just with the inner and like, you don't know what's going with both of you and that sort of stuff. And so, you know, I've felt that fear, you know, leaving my full-time job to do these things as well. But the more that we talk, and you also said it was really scary. I didn't know what was going to happen, but it ended up being like the best thing for you. And there are so many people, and I'm sure there's people listening to this right now that they want to, and they would be able to, but they're just letting that fear is the thing that is holding them back from taking those steps to get the life, to get the freedom, to get whatever they want to accomplish in life would be to them if they would just take those leaps and take those steps. So, you know, you mentioned, you know, doing these mentorships, learning from other people, getting in and just you know, expanding your knowledge and how to do this stuff better, which kind of leads into, I think, taking all those steps. Is John and I really noticed you guys because we reviewed your film a couple months ago, your Iceland film, and you know, Stanton was talking you guys up. He's like, you guys need to do this. You know, I know you're overtime. We need to do it. And so, okay, let's go. And John and I were seriously blown away. Like, an incredible film. And as we were watching it, I'm thinking back on it and reviewing it, you know, it's like, it wasn't just that the film was filmed well. You know, there was like, it was nuanced and it was deeper than that. You know, you felt something. You felt here's important things to the couple. You were creative in coming about it and all this stuff. And you could tell as a viewer that the people that created it were definitely passionate about what they were doing. Okay, it's just kind of all of this stuff I'm, you know, shook together over the last couple of years has led you to where you are now, and hopefully keep you on that trajectory. Okay, and so I know one of the things that you mentioned that you'd like to talk about, and I think one of the things that made a film like that so good was the connection, the relationship that you had with the couple. And so how did you go from, all right, we're Forever Moments videography to, you know, now Cine Garden, where you're creating these epic destination films and you really feel like you get to know the couple. So how are you building those connections? How are you building those relationships with the people that you're working for? Because it's so much easier to create something like that whenever you have that relationship, even if it's not in a place like Iceland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think initially our process is when they're inquiring with us, they'll fill out a questionnaire and we try to get them to give as much detail as possible. So we feel like we know who they are before we get on a Zoom call with them. We do initial Zoom calls like after the inquiry process, no phone calls or emails. Really, it's like, all right, let's set this time where we can meet one another. Like,
it's a requirement for you to Zoom with us. And I wanted to kind of talk about what our process was before we like really decided to be more intentional. And that was someone would inquire. It was email communication and maybe a phone call right before the wedding. That was all that we did. There was no like story sessions or like a wedding or a shoot before the wedding. But that was something that we always wanted. And I remember like trying to sell that to couples. I used to call them love story films or something like that. And for one, I probably wasn't a good saleswoman, but couples never were interested. They didn't want to pay for it. And the whole thing was I probably needed to be doing them for free so that we could show couples what they were and why they had value. But anyway, it was something we always wanted to do. So anyways, when we made that transition and like we were like, we're going to be more intentional, we were like, all right, no more like hiding behind the emails. Done with that. We're going to get out of our comfort zone and actually like build these relationships. So yeah, we do the Zoom consultation. And it's not us selling ourselves. We do a little bit of that at the end of the call, but we let the couple do most of the talking on those calls. We're asking them all about like how they met, how did they get engaged, what do they love about each other, what's valuable to them on wedding day, like just why did they choose to do a wedding? Why did they choose to elope? What's special about this location? Just anything and everything so we can get a feel for who they are and what's important to them. And then after that, we send a couple of digital questionnaires, and then we schedule a story session. And if it's a destination wedding, then typically the story session is like the day or two before the wedding, in wherever it is. But when they're local, we will like do something kind of
weeks before.
Yeah. Or even months before. And it's awesome. Story sessions are like what changed literally everything about our films. And that is where I feel like the real relational like barrier drops. Because it's just a chance for us there's no pressure. There's so much pressure on wedding day. And at the story session, it's like, this is just chill. Like we're just hanging out and we do our best to just be silly and be ourselves and like just disarm couples and let them know like we're goofy, we're nerdy, like we're not cool. And you don't have to act cool or act any certain way around us. Like you just be you. And we just kind of let them decide what they want to do and how much they want to share. And I think one thing that really helped us with story sessions is when I worked at the church, and Rob would join me in filming a lot of stuff, but I was filming people's testimonies all the time. And so I learned how to like, when someone answers a question or starts telling a story, I learned how to like really listen intentionally and then build off of something that they said, so they answer a question. And then I'm like, well, I feel like we could go deeper right here. Like, I feel like this is a sensitive area. Like, let's talk about that a little bit. So it's kind of just learning to really listen to your couples and stop focusing on like, what do I need to say next? Or how do I make them feel comfortable or whatever? Just start focusing on them and listening. And that's where you really like get to dig deeper. But anyways, sorry, I kind of rambled on that. Questionnaires. Then we do a Zoom call prior to the wedding, like usually the week of or 2 weeks before. And not every couple really has a lot of preference, for their film. A lot of them are like, we trust y'all, like we chose y'all for a reason, whatever. But some are like, they're all into it. And so we'll actually have like a full-on vision meeting, of like everything that they've kind of envisioned for their film. And then on wedding day, by the time we get there, they are super comfortable with us.
Yeah, we're practically friends and ready to rock.
And that opens up just opportunities on wedding day that we never had before, where we can, pull them by themselves or separately and ask them things like, how are you feeling right now for real? Like, and just get that like raw emotion. Whereas before, when you're showing up on wedding day and all you've done is emailed someone,
Exactly.
This, like, you're uncomfortable and they're uncomfortable. They're like, I don't know you. I'm not going to tell you how I feel right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's weird.
I have a quick story about that. Just going through email and everything, I would just show up as a second shooter. And there was one day where I was convinced someone was the groom. And so I was talking to them, like getting to know them and like really like going in deep conversations with this person, like, all right, I'm getting to know the groom. This is awesome. And then someone else walks by and they're like, hey man, we got to go do this. The groomsmen have to go do this. And he like walked away. And then the groom was standing over somewhere else. And I was like, okay, we really probably need to do something about this. Like, I need to actually know who I need to talk to. And
Are you talking about the instance where you were talking to a whole different wedding party?
oh no, that did happen.
It was at like, it was
Rob.
downtown in Memphis, and he was hanging out with a completely separate.
wrong wedding.
Rob. Classic Rob.
Look, I saw them walking down the street. They were right next to the hotel that I was supposed to be at. So I figured that they were the same group, and they were like walking down, doing the GQ shot down the street. And so I just start hustling, and I'm introduce myself to the photographer. I'm like, hey guys, I'm your videographer, and I'm Rob. And they were like, we didn't hire a videographer. And I was like, oh, so you're not Adam? And he was like,
This is confusing.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I love it. Okay. So I want to go deeper here in a sec about some of these things we're talking about unlocking that next level with the couples and how that's transformed your films. And we're going to do that right after this break.
Attention wedding filmmakers. The best resource for licensing music for your wedding films is Musicbed. I have been exclusively using Musicbed for about 8 years, and our films are better because of it. I hear a lot from our couples that reach out to us that our wedding films feel different, that the music isn't cheesy. Musicbed has a roster of incredibly talented musicians, bands, and composers who pour their hearts into their work, and you can hear the difference. Find the perfect song with Musicbed's intuitive search features like genre, mood, beats per minute, and my favorite, key. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed to learn more and take your films to the next level. Use promo code HTFW23 at checkout to receive 1 month free with the purchase of an annual subscription. That's howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed.
All right, we're back from break with Rob and Adalenne from Forever Moments Videography or Cine Garden, your choice, whichever. Maybe we could put a poll on Instagram and we could vote, and whoever wins. Anyway, we're back. We're going to hit our question of the day presented by our good friends at Wedding Post House, a culling service that helps you cull all your wedding films. It's amazing. All right, my question of the day is all along the lines of like unlocking that next level when it comes to building a moving narrative, or like a real narrative. That's what we noticed about your films. It was just like a deeper connection. And so you had kind of got to that point. So when that connection is unlocked, what does that do for your films? What has changed since really getting to that point to where you're like, by the time we get to the wedding day, we're friends?
I would say how it changes our films is like not one of our films looks like the last one. And I think that potential clients definitely like pick up on that. And I think that it's so much more fulfilling for us. And I think every, filmmaker is different, and not everybody wants, those types of films, and they just want to do 60 weddings a year and pump them out, and that's fine. But for us, I didn't want to finish editing a film and deliver it and feel like it was just another wedding film. Like that was soul sucking to me. And so now I feel like our films, it's so fulfilling to put them together. And while we're putting them together, of course, there's parts of it that feel, tedious or maybe like mundane in a sense. But I am like steadily getting, goosebumps and feeling like I'm so excited about this. And I know that they're going to be excited about it because I know them. And I just feel like we're serving our clients better. And that in itself is a reward, but it all pays off too when they they see their film, and we get a lot of our couples to film their reaction, like as they see their film for the first time. And like, they're always just completely blown away. They're like, I don't know how y'all did it, but this is literally us, you know?
Yeah. I mean, all the different times that we ask them questions and we get like those raw emotions on wedding day and from the story session that we do, like that gives us so much to build off of. And we can tell, like, sometimes if we don't do that, like we can tell that maybe it's not as much story that we want to give, you know. And sometimes it's difficult because we want to give so much and like make their film unique to them because of their story. And yeah, so that's just super important to us to get that content, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we pour a lot of just our heart into it, and so I mean that can be draining. You can get burnout doing it that way, but that's why we raise our prices and we do less weddings a year.
Yeah. Well, just to give us time to really put everything we have into our films. Like we do, I mean, I was sat at my desk, like doing Musicbed for hours, trying to find specific music, like genres that the couple likes. Like we'll ask them for a couple songs and I'll sit on Spotify listening to their music style. I'll go to Musicbed and find that genre, find that kind of style, and then be able to put that in their film. So that's just that extra touch of them in their film. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's challenging, but it is so worth it. And I mean, I think the work speaks for itself, not to be like, our work is amazing, but like, you know, there's room to grow, of course. But I think that you can always see in a film if there's been intentional work done on the front end to like break down that relational barrier.
Yeah, we always say if we're not like tearing up and missing the couple by the end of the film, we're not doing something right. So
okay. Yeah, no, you know, there's something I'm sure a lot of you know, listeners out there, you know, one of the questions that they ask is, well, how does insert filmmaker, whoever you want to say, you know, how does Cine Garden do that? How do people do this? How do they get these moments? How do they get this stuff? How do they find this music and stuff? And, you know, a big part of that is just time, energy, right? Like I'm thinking of a few films that we've done, and my wife, how she has, did they freeze? Did you guys freeze?
No.
Did you freeze? Are you there?
Okay. There. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, yeah. Okay. You're back. All right. I've shared it the last couple of films that we have put out, my wife has spent so much time just in selecting music. And because she was intentional, this is what they want. I have gotten to know them. This will mean something to them, and this fits with them. And, you know, I'm sure that she spent looking for music on more than some people spend on editing their entire film. And she was just the music process. And I'm not saying that everyone in their business needs to go that route and it's not time efficient, and you will kind of lose some money as a business if that is what you do for absolutely everything. But on the other side of that, if you want to make more intentional films, if you want to make more authentic films to your couples, you're going to have to spend more time and energy in doing some of that stuff. And yes, there is the cost of diminishing returns where, okay, I've already spent 10 hours on this. Is there any more time? Like, is it going to be worth it? Okay. Lots of business stuff that you need to be thinking about. But if you truly want to have something authentic, something that's different, something that speaks to the couple, it's one of those things that's going to take more time and more energy than maybe you are used to. I am an impatient person. Like, just as a whole, I am impatient. And so whenever I find a song, I'm like, it's good enough. Jen's like, no, it's not. Like, look more. And I'm like, so I gave the music to her because it just wasn't something that I could do. Yeah. And when you have two people, you can do that.
Yes.
Yeah. You said, you were like, you're going to lose some money in your business. But when you paused right there, I thought you were going to say, you might lose your mind while you're doing it, because
that too.
It can be so mind numbing, you know, trying to go through all those songs on Musicbed and finding what you need. But yeah, it's definitely worth all the time and energy.
Mm-hmm. It really is. And I like, there's, when I'm trying to edit to a song that just does not feel right and is not vibing, like, oh, it's so like uninspiring. I can't stand it. So yeah, it's not an option for us. Like, we will spend multiple days looking for music sometimes.
Well, now we have a resource that helps us out on that front.
Yes, we do.
The multimedia
Film score sound pack.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is, have y'all had a chance to work with it at all?
It's amazing.
It's dope.
It'll change. It's a game changer.
Y'all wait till you see our latest film when it comes out, because
I can't
that
wait.
music can be pretty amazing.
Not
to brag.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Boomer and Sarah creating stuff that is changing our industry. Like, a little jealous that I didn't have stuff like that, 15 years ago.
I know.
Jerks. How dare they be like 6 when that happened. Whenever I was starting. Now, okay, so I want to go a little deeper on, similar to what you were saying when doing interviews with people at your church. Let's go deeper when it comes to, you said it's a little soul sucking and you can like use all of your energy. So that's why we raised our prices and we do less weddings.
Yeah.
When we watched your film the other day on our film review, it's like, okay, these people are, if they keep doing work like this, they will be some of the top people in the industry for sure. They're people we want on our podcast. They're people that will be speaking and teaching. They're people that like we can see going that way. And, there's some similar characteristics with people that we see that are dominating the wedding film industry, or, it's like, oh my gosh, they're like really up and coming. And it's that they've decided to do some of these things. For you all, where do you feel like, what shifted, what changed, what practical things did you do? You said you're taking less, you're charging more, but maybe unpack that a little bit of like, you did get too busy. You wanted to really do story sessions. You wanted to go further. What changed practically? And then how long until you saw benefit from doing that?
Yeah. So, I think that I keep talking about the relational barrier, and I don't know if I made up that like phrase or whatever, but that's what I always say. The whole thing of like breaking down the relational barrier, I think started and starts with even your brand, your website, and your social media. And so that is where we really started making a shift. We had like no social media presence. I mean, we had an Instagram, we had a Facebook business page, and we had a website, but we were hardly posting, and when we were, it was just weddings. We never showed our face, and you guys were the first people that really like opened my eyes to that. And I'm like, man, we should be showing ourselves. I just never thought of that for some reason. And so I remember one episode I was listening to, I think I was like doing dishes, and one of you were talking about how you love Taylor Swift or something, and how like talking about that on your
that would be me.
And I was like, okay. Well, I mean, we're both pretty like goofy, and we're unique and weird. And like, I feel like, maybe we could just show that to people, and maybe people would feel connected to us. And so that's what we started with. We completely changed our branding. Like, we had rebranded back in 2019, but we completely redid our logo and our like color scheme, and our website. We changed from Squarespace to Showit, and we bought like a luxury template and spent weeks like customizing it and making it different. And we built all of that like based on like how we wanted couples to like feel immediately when they like visit our website, or even just when they see like our logo. And I feel like, as small as that may be, I think that is the beginning of that relational barrier coming down, because when they can like look at our website and already know who we are, they already feel like connected to us as humans. Like they may have already seen our work, on YouTube, and they like it, but like, I feel like that's what seals the deal, when they feel connected to us as people. And, so then on social media, we just started, posting on our stories all the time and making like silly reels. And
we actually had a couple that booked us. They said it was like the defining moment. We did like a blooper reel, and I did the Disney Channel logo.
Like with the wand, you know,
yeah.
like where you like they draw the Disney Channel, like the Mickey head.
Yeah.
You like did that and like tried to edit it. It's like so crappy and stupid. But they said they saw that and they were like,
Yeah,
we
these are
knew
the
y'all were the
people.
people.
Yeah.
And that just shows, I mean, social media is so dang powerful. And it doesn't have to be this perfect curated feed of all your greatest weddings. Like it can also just be you, and people can fall in love with who you are. And then I feel like in turn will fall in love with your work too. So that's where it started. What else? I'm thinking practical things.
You can keep thinking. I had a thought as you were mentioning through that stuff. So, you know, one thing that we say all the time when it comes to your website is, you know, show this kind of stuff that you want to shoot. Right. Yeah. And it's only put out there the type of work that you want to continue to doing. If you're always getting these types of weddings, but that's all that's on your website, like there's a reason for that. Right. But that same idea should translate to everything in your brand, right? Maybe you're putting out these types of films, but then you're not, and it's the type of work that you want to do, but you're not jiving with a couple. And why is that? Well, maybe it's because you're not showing yourself on your feed and you're not putting that personality behind your brand that you guys have. Because, you know, it could be one thing if you're like a silly, goofy couple, but your work is more like serious and emotional. And you know, like there's all those nuances and all that stuff. And so you guys definitely did something that was really smart in showing yourself, because now you're like, this is the type of work we do, but this is also the kind of people that we are. And so now you're kind of marrying those two ideas of maybe our work and who we are as, you know, just people looks a little different, but we're able to fit those things together. And I think that that's one thing that we don't like to do is put ourselves out there, show our real personality in the real people that we are. Because what if someone doesn't like me? Or what if someone, you know, decides not to hire me because they saw that I liked Taylor Swift? Like who cares if that means that the person that does like these things does hire you? Right. So anyway, just that was a thought I had as you talking. Did you think of something else? Do you have something else you want to add to this?
Yeah. So, to your point, like what we had to figure out was sometimes the best thing that could ever happen is that a couple walks away because they're just not the right fit for you, and you'll be happy in the long run and the right couple will come along. But yeah, like back to the practical things that we did. You know, we wanted to do story sessions. And so we were like, well, no longer is it going to be an add-on. No longer is it going to be an option. Like you book with us, you're doing a story session with us. And so that's what we did. And like, we've done a lot of free story sessions too. So the people that had, you know, booked us before we included them in our package, we started, you know, hitting them up and being like, hey, would y'all want to do a story session? Like, we're not going to charge you anything. We want to get to know you guys and like spend some time with you. And so that's what we've been doing. Like we're shooting 2 story sessions this week that we're not getting paid for them. We just want to do them. Yeah. And so that goes into like showing what you want to shoot. Now that we have all of that and we're shooting story sessions all the time, that's what we're putting out there. And so the couples that want something that's different and want something that's really, you know, suited to who they are, you know, they see our work and they're like, yeah, these people, that's what they do. And so that's what we wanted to shoot. So that's what we started posting. And then we with the mentorship sessions, that's where we were able to be like, okay, what do we need to do with our prices? Because I think that we had a lot of fears about that because, you know, we were both full time. We needed to book weddings. And
yeah, we were listening to, you know, if you guys were or had a podcast and y'all were talking about that, we were trying to gain as much like information about that. Cause I think that's always something that's, you know, you're having to juggle. Like it's just sometimes especially like where you are versus your work and like, where you're located
It's like,
and everything.
do I deserve to charge this much?
Yeah.
Am I a bad person if I want this much money?
And then you have like the lull after you do it and you're like, wait, did I make a mistake kind of thing? So it was nice to have people to speak into that and to listen to different podcasts to talk about it. And especially like when we did the Patreon with Stanton, he was like very helpful in that aspect.
Yeah. And like looking at our prices and being like, yeah, like you can raise your prices. And also just sometimes you just need someone on the outside to like tell you, like to instill confidence in you and tell you like you can do this and it will be okay. And on the other side of the coin, when we had moments where we were like, ooh, like we need money like to survive, we also like, I remember there was a specific conversation that we had with Stanton about it, and we were like just saying it was kind of scary, and he was like, it is okay for you to lower your prices too if you really need to. Like I feel like we put all this like pressure and we like, I don't know, he just made a point that like he's done that. And so I feel like we look at these people that we admire and we put them on pedestals and we're like, they don't ever struggle with finances. They're not, they don't get it. But really like we're all in the same boat in a sense, no matter where we're priced. Like we all have that struggle of like, do we go up? Do we go down? Like, what do? We need to book something.
Yeah. But it did give us a confidence, and especially with the content that we get and the uniqueness of our films for each couple, that gave us the confidence to raise our prices. And yeah.
And then, of course there's people that don't value that and they don't want to pay, for what it is that we offer. But it did start to pay off as we put out, these films with, with the story session, and they're much more personal. We had people reaching out that were like, I love that you guys like include old pictures and old video footage, and that you do a shoot beforehand, and they appreciate it so much that they're like, there are people that are willing to adjust their budget elsewhere to make sure that you're the one that's going to be there.
Yeah.
And yeah. But what else? I was thinking about like other practical things. I mean, coming down to like showing what you shoot, we spent a lot of money to shoot destination weddings and we did not make money off of them. And now we make money off of them. But it's a sacrifice that I feel like, and a risk that you have to take. I mean, we took so many financial risks, but we knew, okay, if we invest and we spend the money on opportunities and we squeeze every last drop out of them and like be as creative as we can and work as hard as we can, it's going to pay off. And it 100 has.
Yeah. People be like they can have an issue with doing weddings for basically free or whatever. But I mean, I feel like that's you investing into your business, and especially the situations that we did. We reached out to planners and they had couples that weren't going to have videography at all. And we were the people that they chose. Just so happened to be in Switzerland and in Italy. So we
happened to be.
I'm just saying that because we had to invest a lot into that.
Yeah. And I mean, be wise, like we're not saying like, go put everything on a credit card.
Got it. No.
Like,
no.
There's a wise way to go about it. But yeah, I don't know. My dad has always said sometimes you got to spend money to make money.
Got to spend money to make money. I love it. So we got to wrap up. We're running out of time, but I wanted one thing that you guys hit on that I think is really important. Put in the effort and you've sacrificed and you did all these extra story sessions. You've put in this extra. I see it with Stanton. I've seen it with Boomer and Sarah. I've seen it with Nick. I've seen it with myself. The people that are like going to that next level do take the risks, not crazy risk, but it's like, we want our films to be more intimate. So we've got to include story sessions. We don't have story sessions that are selling. We're giving them until people see this value. We don't have destination weddings. We're gonna do those destinations. We're going to get there. We're going to invest. And then now you're getting paid for those things. With the wedding industry, it's like 12 to 18 months behind what you're currently able to do. You're a season behind. You're showing last year's work. So you're marketing with that. And so just putting in those reps and doing those things over time and doing those, taking those sacrifices, it starts to really snowball for you. And like, that's just one keyword that I think if you're out there listening, and it's like, where can you sacrifice? Where can you invest with something in some way that you want to be going towards? If you're wanting to charge $2,000 more for a wedding film, what does that look like? Start filming your weddings like you already do that. Start showing up earlier, dressing that way, or whatever that is, or making those connections like you're already doing that. And then what do you know, 12 to 18 months later of doing all these story sessions and doing all these destination trips, it's like, yeah, people see that I've been to Italy or you've been to wherever, or, and it's like, yeah, well, we can see the story sessions in this film now. We get it. We can. And so if you're out there and you're like, why am I spinning my wheels? Maybe you do need to put yourself out there for just a small season saying, hey, for 18 months, we're just going to include a same day edit every wedding, or we're just going to include a story session or whatever that is. And so it's cool to watch just since the little bit of knowing that you guys exist, just, like the growing that you're doing. And just, I can tell that your trajectory is going to be very, very good. If people do want to follow you, where's the best place for them to connect with you? I know that you guys have a lot that you're up to. So where's the best place for people to find you?
Our Instagram is at cine.garden. And then we're on YouTube as well. I think the YouTube handle is the same. It's at cine.garden, or you can just search Cine Garden. And then website, cinegarden.co. And then do you want to mention what we're working on just so that people know? And if they follow us, they'll be like in the loop.
Yeah. So we're actually working on a bit of a course, not like too, lengthy of a course, but something to help people.
Not a full videography course, like how to be a wedding videographer type thing. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're working on a course that is specifically on everything that we talked about, connecting with couples, like breaking down that relational barrier of a story session. And we are multiple story sessions.
Yeah, behind
this. We're going to be showing all of our promptings, questions that we ask. We're giving questionnaires. We're putting questionnaires in the course, full film breakdowns, how we build a narrative, and how we tie a story session into a full wedding film. Because I think a lot of people have asked us, like, how do you even like weave that in and out?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to be breaking down all of that, and it's going to be sick. So yeah, definitely follow us so you can be in the loop on that. It'll be coming out in the next few months.
Oh. That was John and I visually communicating to each other that he wants me to talk. So guys, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We really appreciate you taking the time. So Rob and Adalenne, thank you so much for being on today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Rob and Adalenne from Cine Garden, thank you so much. Or should I say Forever Moments Videography?
The future will tell.
The future will tell. Thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast today. We appreciate. One more time before we hop out of here, get out of here, we want to mention our web templates that are available at our shop on howtofilmweddings.com. Again, we partnered with Austin with the Creative Studio, who he has his own business of web design and branding, and he knew that he wanted to create something that would help videographers, help wedding filmmakers create websites that show off them being a videographer. So many websites out there today, templates and stuff, cater more to the photo side. So this one really caters to the video side of things. So go ahead and check those out at howtofilmweddings.com. John, thanks for hanging out with me. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, we will see ya.
See ya.